Welcome to the Paradigm Shift, episode 56, the show of shows, the people show. We got a special guest on today. I couldn't be more excited. Just gotta bear with me, have a little patience. We're waiting for our partner in crime, the articulate alligator, the big bad sex dolphin, the handsome swordfish, Dave Meltzer to come on. Problem is this guy already downed about 6 handsome sandwiches to start the day. He's on right now. I see him, and to be honest with you, he's already giving me anxiety with how adorable he's gonna look. It is what it is. I see you, Big Dave. Pulling you up right now. You sex porpoise. And then we got a special. Happy Saturday, happy Easter, happy Good Friday weekend, happy all the things, happy holidays, happy Passover. What are you talking at?
Oh my God. The adjectives, the definition, the description of me, you are unique in itself. I'm glad to see you still won't button up your shirt. But beyond that, you are one handsome Passover porpoise.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah.
How many handsome sandwiches did you scarf down this morning?
Only 5, not 6.
Okay, great. It's so good to see you.
Great to see you.
I love you so much that it's arguably concerning. Happy Passover for the audience. Happy Easter, Good Friday, all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. Celebrate anything celebratable. And, I am a firm supporter of those who believe that there's something bigger than them that loves them more than their mom loves them. So this is a foundational principle of positivity, of optimism, of being protected and promoted at all times.
Yeah, I love that. And someone, Rachie, just said on here that I should even unbutton my shirt a little bit more. So there's that. And I see Dave Meltzer TV just joined on here. It doesn't get bigger than that. There's going to be a lot of handsomeness on this show today. So full disclosure for the audience, I can't wait for our guest. I have some personal questions to ask him as well. Let's dive right in. You ready for me, Big Dave?
I'm ready, man. I'm fired up. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah. So one thing that I understood early on in CLS was the power of proximity. Hence the reason I was very intentional with forming a relationship with you, of all people, flying out there to shake your hand, all the things. How important is the power of proximity?
Well, when you understand the levels of connectivity, the conscious level of connectivity, the subconscious and the unconscious, that energetically we can only get so much through Zoom or IG or LinkedIn. When you show up, there's a connection. There's the credibility connection. There's the emotional attachment connection. And then there's also the attention and intention connection that allows you to articulate what it is that you would like to proceed with. Because of proximity, we are able to proceed in a more precocious manner, in a more expedited manner. So people who show up, and look, we were just talking about this. Mike Tannenbaum and I do a NFL executive talk every Saturday morning, and we were talking about first in, last one to leave. It's the same proximity concept, right? If you show up, you're going to have statistically more opportunities, more options, but the consistency of that. And I will tell you, by far, people who come out and shadow me, people who make the effort to come to SoFi Stadium, to my office there, or the Wynn in the lobby there, or my studio in Orange County, actually physically drive down to see me from wherever they are, exponentially get more from me because they show up. And so that proximity increases your credibility, emotional attachment, and allows you to, at a higher level, articulate what you want.
And also, yeah, beautifully said. I want to acknowledge you for that. But also, just being around people that are vibrating a little bit higher or on that frequency, like, it's contagious. Just like if you take proximity and you start hanging around people that are kind of like not where you should be and going in the opposite direction, that'll rub off on you too. So just being around people that are doing big, cool, epic things and moving the needle, so to speak, it's no choice but to just kind of rub off on you too, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, you are going to take on the energy of the people that you spend the most time with and that are in proximity to you, even to the extent of your bank account. I'll see that the people I spend the most time with, the aggregate of those people, my bank account's almost the average of theirs. That's why I try to surround myself with more billionaires to up that average. It's amazing. Anything that's energetic takes on the thermostat type of approach, right? It's the hypo balance of temperature. If you're around all hot people, you're going to be hotter. You're around all cold people, you're going to be colder. So elevate yourself by elevating the crowd that you hang out with.
Yeah, and that's why I like to hang out with the energetic sex porpoise, Dave Meltzer. There's a rumor going around you. I didn't start it, so don't call me on it. But I wanted to just ask you if there's any truth to it.
What's
There's a rumor going around that you might be at the CLS Experience birthday party.
Yeah, well, it's during the draft, so I'm trying to rearrange my schedule. I will at least be there virtually and plug myself into somebody's phone screen. But I am trying to work around my schedule to be there in New York City during the draft. But I have one thing that they're not letting me out of, so I'm trying to work through it.
Understood. So there is some truth to the rumors.
There is truth to the rumors, and I will absolutely be there in mind, spirit, for sure. Hopefully, physically, I can make it as well.
I know that. I'm going to bring on Mike. One last question before we bring him on. This one is pretty cool, and I saw it because I was taking a sneak peek at your content for the week, which I always do, and so should the audience. And one thing you were talking about was this, is stop worrying about how long it's going to take. And I think so many people stop or don't even start because they have that fear in their head.
Yeah, look, I mean, if I look at my own career and connected the dots backwards and had to up front know what it was going to take to be where I'm at, I'm not sure I would do it. So we create resistance when we start putting our attention and intention on the destination. We start creating resistance when we start putting time, space, these quantitative measures in place instead of putting our attention and intention on the cause. Remember, the interval of time that exists is always between cause and effect. The biggest misuse of time of cause and effect is the cause, a problem, and the solution, the effect. The biggest misuse of time is between the time that you spend between problems and solutions. You want to get good at how quickly can I find the solution in the problem, because every problem within it has the solution. This is the quagmire of life. This is what makes the enjoyment of the consistent, persistent pursuit of your potential so enjoyable, when you can have the mindset of finding the light, the love, and the lessons in those problems.
And isn't it so funny how, like, when you finally release the anxiety and the stress of worrying about how long it's going to take, and you just kind of be present and worry about today, that's when the universe begins to really create opportunities for you.
And speeds up. You got it. More options, more opportunities, and faster pace.
That's it. Let's bring on Big Mike.
Oh, yeah. Now we got the incredible Mike Tannenbaum. He is an amazing soul, far beyond just a football executive, far beyond a sports analyst, far beyond talk about handsome. How many handsome sandwiches does this guy eat?
Mike, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I was trying to talk to Ben and a couple other people. I've been in here since 10:29, and I'm always technologically insecure, and I always try to be very punctual. So 10:30 is 10:29, and I'm hitting every button. But great to be with you guys.
I was doing the same thing. I actually texted Craig, "Hey, are you ready?" Because it was 7:29 out here. I'm like, "What's going on?"
Yeah. Mike, I'm a fan of yours from the Big Apple. I don't know if I should say the word unfortunately, but I've been a lifelong Jet fan. And so I always loved you and your work and so forth. And I'm excited to have you with us today. You ready to get a little weird and get some nuts?
Well, it's great to be with you. And happy holidays to everybody. Happy Easter. Happy Passover. It's a great weekend, and appreciate being with you.
Yeah. We'll come out right the gate. You're very successful in many different things that you've done. And I'm just curious for you, because I think the audience always likes to hear some of the different successful people and what works for them. What are some of your daily non-negotiables, Mike?
Yeah, and let's start with the word success, because I define success as doing something that you love to do, and privileged to be friends with Dave and partners with Dave on some projects. And we just got off our weekly Twitter spaces, and we talked about the whole notion of choose a job you love. You never work a day in your life. So I was an unpaid intern in law school working for the New Orleans Saints, and I felt successful then and fulfilled then because I was pursuing something that I cared deeply about. So, but moving the story forward, I'm incredibly privileged and honored to be on ESPN and their platforms. And a couple things for me is, one, I try to work out first thing in the morning to start the day, because I think that's a real investment. We had a sign up at the Jets facility, like there's two pains in life: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And so I try to get that workout in first, and that's more candidly as much physiological as it is anything else. Like when I step away from my desk, I really think about challenges and opportunities. And then the power of preparation. I was the youngest GM in the NFL. I'm fundamentally, I'm a pretty insecure person, and what always gave me confidence was preparation. So I always anchored into the notion of no one was going to be in a meeting more prepared than me. And I get candidly frustrated and disappointed. I talk to students all the time because I have 3 charitable foundations. I believe I have an affirmative responsibility to help others get to where they want to go. So my family and I have 3 different foundations where we give students money so they can work for free so they can pursue their dreams. But I always tell them, never ask a question you can know the answer to. Like, you should know my wife's names, my kids' names, their goals, their insecurities. Because when you go into a meeting and you know more about the person than they know about you, you're now operating from a position of strength. And candidly, you're also selling yourself, because if you're that prepared for that one meeting, that person's going to think, look at Dave Meltzer Enterprises and everything he has going on. Imagine if Dave gave you 10 minutes and you knew everything about Dave, his background, how he got to Lee Steinberg, why he chose Tulane Law School over Georgetown. That would move the needle with Dave. So I would tell somebody to have fastidious and non-negotiable preparation, so when you get in front of somebody, you can knock their socks off.
This is awesome. And it's funny because there's so many things that I could have started this conversation off with, but I'm so glad that I asked you that one, because I absolutely agree. I never consider myself the most talented in anything, but one thing that I can control is being the most prepared. So that really struck a chord with me. And for the audience listening, that's something that you can apply immediately. What are you smiling at, Big Dave?
Well, I just finished up the Twitter Spaces show with Mike, and they asked for my last comment, and I said, be more interested than interesting. Something my oldest brother told me when I was 18 years old and realized doctors had to be in hospitals, and switched my trajectory to law school instead of. And I'm also giggling because as I sit and see Tulane University, both undergrad and the law school, in the success that they're having. And I think about years and years ago when Mike and I were at Tulane Law School, and where that sports law and entertainment law program has come today. And it obviously the leading sports law program in the country, but now how entertainment has crossed over into our school. I also am reminded, last night I went to what's called a Passover Seder with my family is extremely religious, and my brother's a rabbi. And I sat there and I spoke with my Uncle Eli, and he had this great story that I'm thinking about as I'm watching you two. And it's Craig and Mike are walking, and they're having a discussion about whether it's the destiny or the journey. And as I'm sitting here listening to you two have a conversation about destiny and journey, I'm thinking, hey, what it's really about is the company. And I'm able to walk with both of you gentlemen. And so as much as we want to focus in on and have a trajectory of a destiny, put our focus, attention, and intention on the journey, remember the company that you keep. And this show right here, to me, this company is where I can spend my day. And I appreciate both of you.
Thank you so much, Dave. I really appreciate that. Love you very much. You sex dolphin. And
hey, he's the GM. He's the old executive of the Dolphins. Be careful. He's gonna be scared.
we got to give Mike a nickname. Mike, I have a question. As a lifelong Jets fan, and when I told my dad that you were going to be guesting the show, he really wanted me to ask you this. We've been very patient with the Jets. What is the deal with it? Why do they always seem to make the wrong decisions? What's the deal with the organization?
Well, I would push back on that, Craig, because when I was there, we got a lot more right than wrong and went to the playoffs 7 times. And
I meant since you.
Oh, gotcha. I would say, that's a great question. I'm not sure. The team's obviously struggled. I don't have anything, I don't know. It hasn't worked out for a lot of reasons. I know the people there work really hard, Craig, and are trying to do it the right way. But they have struggled. I mean, there's no 2 ways about it for a long time. And it's not for lack of effort. And I'll say this. I can tell you firsthand, candidly, on the record, it's not for lack of resources. And what I mean by that is, like, Woody and Chris Johnson care deeply about the team. And if you ever had the privilege of taking one step inside that building, you would know that you'd be blown away by the resources that are given to the players. And in a salary cap era, the way to assess an owner's commitment is how he spends money, how he or she spends money on things that don't count against the cap. And the Johnson family spends as much as anybody. So it's not for lack of trying.
Yeah, and also just a couple, real quickly, I want to acknowledge you because as a lifelong Jets fan, when they're doing your thing, you gave me the most fun, entertaining, and exciting years of my life as being a Jets fan. So thank you for your services with that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Dave, what are you grinning at? You look like the Grinch.
Well, I just find it funny, right? So many frustrated football fans when they look at their franchise. And I would tell you, there's more frustrated fans every year than there are pleased fans. And that's because only one team wins. And, as much as you make the playoffs for how many years we make it, there's still going to be frustrated fans because in the end, there's only one team that wins. And I think it's, a unique situation because as you go throughout the country, people forget real fast. Look at New England, for example. I have so many hyper-competitive New England friends that, are so down on their team. And I'm thinking when I land in Boston, there's a billboard there that says something like, it's been 130 days since our last championship. When you come from somewhere, like San Diego, where you dream of having one championship, and it's been 130 days since your last championship, and your teams make the playoffs in baseball, football, hockey, basketball. It's incredible how quickly fans will turn and say, how frustrating it is. And I think it's a testament to the emotional attachment that people have to sports, especially football. And that's why I love football so much and love to be around it and still love to be around it and try to put myself in a situation to at least be connected to what I consider to be the greatest sport ever created.
Yeah, just want to interject for a second, Dave, because you're absolutely right, and a lot of people get frustrated and so forth. But when you see an organization that just has a great culture, even if they're not winning the Super Bowl, you can respect that every year, as a fan, you're in for a treat. And although they might not win the whole thing, it's going to be exciting. But some teams, some organizations, for some reason, the culture is just not there. And I believe that starts at the top down.
Hey, Craig, I got a question for you. I teach a class at Columbia. We talk about this a lot. How do you define culture?
I think the vibe and the mentality of the entire organization and group. So, for example, with a business, from the employees at the bottom to the CEO, a culture is a certain standard that's set all across the board, in my opinion. What would you say?
I say it's the lowest common acceptable behavior. So if you have a 10:30 meeting and somebody walks in at 10:31 and you accept that, your culture is one of accepting non-conforming behavior. If somebody in your organization sends a mean-spirited email to somebody else and you don't react to that, your culture is one of your organization that accepts mean-spirited emails. So whatever the lowest common acceptable behavior as a leader that you will accept defines your culture.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this in a pragmatic business sense. I know you have a lot of entrepreneurs that watch you, Craig. That is why every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I have an hour meeting on Mondays, mandatory. Wednesday, 15 minutes minimum, and then 2 hours on Friday minimum to make sure that we are communicating effectively what those standards are and what those values that are attached to those standards are. So beyond the fact that we won't accept certain things within the context of our business, I also want people to know that in order to live up to the expectations or the commitment that we make within the culture of our business, you need to have gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and this inspiration that comes from effectively communicating and really stick to. And so we actually start every single meeting by making an intern tell me the 4 things I want them to learn while they're an intern within my organization, and then the practices that are setting that standard, that common denominator to elevate everybody, to elevate the business itself.
I think that's awesome, Dave. One thing, I think that's all terrific. I think another part of culture is I'm a huge personal pronoun person. So it's we and us. And when things go wrong, it's I. And when things go great, it's because of my great teammates. And that's what leaders do. They deflect praise and they assume setbacks. And if I don't hear we and us, it's not acceptable. It's we and us, we and us, we and us. And, you know, I'm not built to be an I person. The organizations I'm around, that's really important to me.
I love that.
And yeah, that's what the New England
just
Patriots were the first one. Just so you know, the New England Patriots were the first one to announce, instead of most teams that announce the players when they come out of the tunnel, they just announce the team and the whole team comes out.
And look at their culture. Mike, even when somebody on your team makes a mistake or something like that, do you take accountability for that, even if it wasn't your fault, obviously?
It's always your fault. That's, you know, generals in the Army eat last, not first.
Yeah, love that.
Mike Tannenbaum's old school. I love it.
I was about to say, I love his personality. It's very black and white.
Well, I just feel like if we're going to collectively get to where we want to go, like we should be fighting the competition, not each other, you know, and that's what the best organizations in the world do. I certainly don't have all the answers, but if we, you know, create an environment where, you know, everyone can, you know, bad news traditionally, like I'm a big, I study this quite a bit. And I've been fortunate to be around a lot of great people. But if you go back to when the space shuttle blew up in the mid-90s, that was a failure of management, that NASA had a culture where bad news couldn't travel up. And if you really study it, it wasn't negligence in the science or the technology. It was negligence in organizational behavior. And that was something like when I read and studied that really resonated with me. And that's why the organizations I've always been with, I just, you know, there's that great line, guys, like, culture eats strategy, and I'm just a big believer in that.
I have one quick question, Craig. To the point, you've been a team player your entire career, and now later on in your career, you actually have your own individual brand. I know you have the 33rd team, and you build that culture with the greatest minds to collectively help other people and to give them the insight and inspiration that's necessary to pursue their potential. But one of the hardest crossovers that I had as a team player was to build my own personal brand. And when you have to take a different position to be in that I position, has there been any internal emotional conflict for you to be center stage, or any type of growth that was necessary not to be the guy behind the team?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dave. I mean, that's a great question. Yes. And in the media, you just, by its very nature, it's much more about I and me, look at me, like the whole, like, yeah, it's hard because I've been hardwired since 1994 to be one way. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge, and I just try to shine a light on others. And what I've learned in my career, when I build up others, it becomes a force multiplier for myself. And I'm hard pressed to find another way to do it. Maybe it works for others, but I came into the NFL as an unpaid intern, and I know how it just helped me get to where I want to go. And the more I can invest in my teammates and people around me, it just always came back to me tenfold.
And he walks that walk. They almost did let us at Tulane when we spoke at the symposium. They actually had Matthew McConaughey as the keynote, but they literally, Mike and I have the same philosophy. They wouldn't let us introduce each other because they were sick of us two promoting each other. But go ahead, Craig. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, really grateful for this time spent today. Mike has some really awesome nuggets, and I think that they're so special because they're applicable for anybody in any industry. These are just traits that make you succeed in whatever it is that you're looking to do. Mike, I know you have a lot of exciting new things going on and so forth. What's the best way for all the audience here to support you?
Yeah, and thanks again, Craig. It's great to be with you and someone I greatly admire, and Dave. At Real Tannenbaum is on Twitter, Instagram, and then our website's the33rdteam.com. So if you love football or if you're interested in pursuing a career in pro sports, we've placed 14 men and women in the NFL in 18 months. So that's something we're really proud of and want to keep rolling. So I really appreciate you having me, guys, and have a great weekend and happy holidays.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike. Dave, one final gem for the audience?
Hey, you surround yourself with the right people, the right ideas. And that's why I'm on this show every Saturday. That's why I hang out with Mike Tannenbaum and Craig Siegel. Be blessed. I love you guys. Have a happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.
Take care, man.
Love you, Dave. Too much fun. What a great conversation, guys. Mike Tannenbaum, former GM of the New York Jets, football executive, does stuff at ESPN. Just a great guy. Obviously, Dave, as always. The paradigm shift, the show of shows. Some of the stuff that Mike talked about today in regards to culture and some of the things really hit home. I think those are awesome for everybody on this call. That's what we're trying to do, is just stop by on a beautiful Saturday and drop a couple nuggets, some gems that you guys can apply immediately to life. I hope you got some great content out of that. Most importantly, I hope that you guys apply that. What was the, and I could watch it back with Rachie, what was the line that Mike said towards the end? Culture eats, what was it? Somebody dropped that in the chat, if you remember what he said. And then we'll go ahead and sign off. Yup, absolutely, Essie girl. Cynthia, everybody's in the house today. Yes. Good. Rachie, text me what Mike said, when I could run it back also. John Doe in the house, Big Dave, everybody's out today, guys. Gabby, happy Easter, happy Passover. Have a great holiday. Thank you for joining us. Culture Eat Strategy. Bang. Thank you. Love you guys. Straight up. Alaska in the house, no big deal. Kim, have a great holiday, guys, and a great weekend. Thank you for joining us. The Paradigm Shift, episode 56 in the books. Greenlit for Apple TV, no big deal.